The Tour de France is what I did it all for. I mean, that's how I'd fallen into my love of cycling. And then I started racing, and I did realise quite quickly that I was a bit better than most of the other kids I was racing against. I went to Belgium and stayed with a family in Belgium in a place called Ypres and raced kermesses. And I loved it. And I came back to England and worked in the local supermarket at night and trained during the day and prepared myself for moving to France the next year and basically begged and grovelled until I found a team in France that would take me as an 18-year-old amateur. There's one thing going from junior to amateur, I mean that's a jump, there's no doubt, but nothing prepares you for the jump from amateur to professional. Cyril Guimard, who is a legendary figure in cycling, was starting up this new team, Cofidis, which wasn't based that far from where I was in France, and I remember him coming down to Saint-Quentin, planning out my career in front of me at that table, and he was telling me that in the year 2000 I would do my first Tour de France. I based the whole next year on arriving at Tour de France in 2000. It started off with a 16-kilometre time trial, which is equivalent to 10 miles, and one of my first ever bike races had been a 10-mile time trial. So when I saw the Tour de France started with a 10-mile time trial, I kind of kept it quiet, but realised that it was an opportunity that was very rarely going to arise in my life, and it felt almost fated to a certain degree that it was like that. And the next day I did it. I beat Lance by 2 seconds, which was, that was magic. I cried like a baby on French national TV. It was yeah, that was a bit of a weird day. All my family and friends came to the last day on the Champs-Élysées, and my sister was there with her best friend from school, and her name was Zoe, and Zoe said to my sister, "Guys, look at him, Fran." She's like, "What?" "He's actually doing his dream. He's actually fulfilled his dream." Towards the end of my last year amateur, I'd got warned by some of the guys in my amateur team that it was going to be a different world with the pros, and to kind of prepare myself for it. But I mean, I was kind of blissfully unaware and was very idealistic regards my sport. I wouldn't have not gone to art college if I thought that I was going to be entering a world where there was prolific doping. You are expected to perform, and I think that's normal in any sportsman, really. I mean, once you start to hit big races, win the big races, then you're supposed to keep doing it. Well, I mean, the Tour de France is such a big race, and especially for a French team, it was my winning the first stage of Tour de France and getting the yellow jersey. It meant that the rest of the Tour de France was basically a holiday. Because otherwise, being a French team at the Tour de France, especially the team I was in, it was just a stress fest. And they'd raced me, I think, 58 days racing before the Tour de France in 2001. And I mean, I've been going well, but coming up to the Tour, my form started to be really up and down. Well, this is when it all went a bit Pete Tong, as we'd say in England. So I got to the Tour de France, and it had a prologue, all good for me, and it was at Dunkirk, about 50 kilometres from the headquarters of our team sponsor, and I'd won it the year before, the first stage of the Tour, and everyone was expecting great things of me, and I knew deep down I couldn't do it. I just didn't have the conditions. So I mean, I figured if I just rode it perfectly and I took extreme risks on the corners and just touched barriers and clipped curbs, then there was a chance I could still go top 5 or top 3. And on the last corner, I lost it and I went slamming down. And so I started the next day, just my whole left side smashed up, and then physically I was just pretty bashed up, but psychologically I was just in a body bag. And I mean, I think my team, I mean, should have, would have, could have, I was just wanting them to tell me to stop and to go home and rest up and get ready for the end of the year. And I could see that the whole team was reliant on me. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I stopped the race, and I was devastated, and yet euphoric. It was just like, it's over, like the suffering's over. And that was the night at Outdoors where I was invited into the room